to walk in that's particularly teen angsty. Maybe I should walk in with some synth waves in slow motion. Hello everyone, I'm Alan, and yes, the title isn't lying to you. I'm genuinely reviewing Season 4 of 13 Reasons Why. Why is a great question. I watched Season 4 of 13 Reasons Why, so you didn't have to. Because it's shit. 13 Reasons Why started as a show that examined the grief process of teenagers and why they get into a state of grief and how the sort of school life affects that and gets them into position of that. It's poised as a show that allows these teen kids a voice and something to relate to when it comes to this grief, and parents some signposts to follow to try to figure out exactly what's going on and try to prevent these things from happening. With Season 2, the show explored accountability on an institutional level. Who's responsible? Who has a duty to these kids? Is it the school? Is it the kids themselves? Should the kids be taking responsibility? With Season 3, the showrunners took so many drugs and just went, what if it was like a murder mystery show? Just hear me out, Steve. And it was shit. It was fucking terrible and awful, and one of the most morally bankrupt seasons of TV I've ever seen in my entire life. Well, with Season 4, they've kind of done away with the sellable taglines. There's nothing here that is designed to draw you in. It's just how it is. And I'm actually really happy with that decision. I think that's a good decision. It allows the show to just be what it is and not to shoehorn in some sort of undertoned thriller bullshit. That's how they ended up with the horribly morally bankrupt Season 3. But the biggest issue of Season 4 is in trying to undo what happened, or the tone that they set with the ending of 2 and with the whole of 3. See, 13 Reasons Why before Season 4 was a very harsh show, a very hard, rough on the edges show. The end of Season 2 was a very dampening conclusion, a very sad conclusion, and one that doesn't end in the way that you want it to. That's supposed to tell you that, hey, things don't always end up the way that you want them to, and unless you root for the bad guy, you're not going to get the ending that you want. But with 4, they have retconned in a huge way, almost in like a Rise of the Skywalker fashion. It is a huge retcon. They have undone all of the rough edges, and Season 4 is incredibly soft. It is a very soft, around the edges season of TV. It just feels as though there's no conflict, nothing bad that happens to the group. The main focus of conflict is in Clay himself, which I think is a fairly good idea. They explore, without spoiling too much, and by the way, there are going to be spoilers in this review. Without spoiling too much though, they deal a lot with the damage that Clay is doing to himself, rather than having this external force. The issue is, they do have an external force. I don't know if you remember Winston. Is his name Winston? I think his name's Winston. I'm taking the lid off my coffee cup. Yeah, remember Winston? He had an interesting thing with Monty. I can't remember which season it was. I think it might have been 2, where they went to a party, and Monty realized, oh, those birds are pissing me off. And Monty realized that he was not straight, and he had his first not straight encounter with Winston. Winston, for some reason, immediately fell in love with him, and now he's back to find out exactly what happened to Monty, because, in case you didn't know, the main theme, aside for, Clay being Clay, is Monty did die, and there's supposed to be some sort of like conflicting thread that who did it, and I'm gonna make them accountable. And there's a new guy called Diego. He might have already been in the show. I'd completely tapped out with Season 2 and 3. They were so shit. There's this guy Diego, and he's after them too, and the football gang are back, and they're the bad guys again, and they're after him too. And yeah, there's lots of that, but it all just fizzles out because everybody who's trying to figure out what's going on and hold the gang accountable is involved with the gang romantically, so you never feel threatened by these people, and it's a genuine romantic connection. Again, I'm going to spoil some stuff here, but Winston ends up in a relationship with Alex for a bit. And Jessica and Diego get together. They're the two main people of conflict who are trying to get to the bottom of how Monty died and who killed him. Doesn't matter, because they eventually just give up because they're romantically interested, which leads to the most unsatisfying conclusion I could have asked for. It really felt as though the show just fizzled out and didn't really do anything at the end. It just went, okay, so everyone gets what they want, and then the show will be done, and can we please stop writing the show? But it seemed as though the real cost of that was that I never felt threatened. I never felt threatened by Winston in particular. I'm not going to say directly that this is an issue I have with his performance. He just didn't seem like a bad guy to me. I mean, I don't know if it is his delivery, whether he was directed in this way, or whether he just is this way. He just seems like a guy just hanging out. Like, with Bryce, he was definitely a bad guy, and they really signpost that. He had to be big and tough, had to have the slick back hair, had to have a smirk, had to be full of himself, had to speak in a condescending way constantly, had to be a football jock, had to be all of that, right? Because he was the bad guy. That's everything was signpost. He was built up as the bad guy. Winston is an exercise in why things like iconography and character profile, stuff like that, are important in writing, because there's none of that. There's none of it. He's just a dude. He's just a guy, and he hangs out with the other guys, and he kind of occasionally says some things that make people feel uncomfortable with regards to who, is responsible, but aside for that, nothing. Don't care. Don't give a shit. I don't know. Is he trying to find out? Is he going to find out? And eventually he does. He gets told, and then he just goes, alright, well, tell you what, I don't think you should go to jail, so fine. And it's alright, well, see ya, bye. And then, of course, everyone just kind of gets their own thing. Justin's alcoholism felt very not Justin's. All the characters blend into one for me. Zach has this forced alcoholism that doesn't feel real at all. I think Zach's actor is very good. I don't think he was given very good material. It just didn't feel very backed up to me. His conclusion also just happened out of nowhere. Alex really didn't do much this season, and he just got a complete happy ending, which I guess I'm okay with. I knew the twist. Oh, and by the way, there are no shocking twists in this show. There's one that they try, but it's like most things in the show, it just happens, or in the season, it just happens, and you don't really give a shit. All right, okay, yeah, I get it. That makes sense. Yeah, that does. Jessica's character is basically the same. She delivers lines in exactly the same way that she always has, which is as if she's just said, you know what, and then delivered her lines. That's how she always has. Justin's actually pretty good in this season. No, he's very strong. Easily the strongest character. No, Justin and Clay are the strongest characters in this. Diego's okay. He just doesn't get enough setup. A pretty good actor, though. At times, sometimes not. My favourite episode, though, was there's one where they fight back against cars making noise. So that it's cool. You don't worry, I know you own a car. The best episode in the show for me was an episode where they fight back against the cops. I thought it was built up well. They spend the season talking about how they're too policed and the cops are being too rough with them and stuff like that. And then there's an episode where they fight back. It's the first time I felt emotionally charged and energized by the show, and it's the first time I got some sort of emotional response from it. I did feel as though, yeah, right on, do it, take them down. And I think that's really great. I mean, the production budget really shows in this episode. It's so cutty, and they make a lot of sort of decisions that really don't meld well with the episode, because it's probably the highest budget episode of the show. They do a lot kind of for a high school teen angsty, whoa, got feelings show. But yeah, I genuinely felt emotionally charged by it. It felt good. It was a good release episode for the first time since season 1. This was the best emotional response I've had since any episode from season 1. The worst episode for me, though, was the prom episode. I just didn't like it. Not a damn thing happened in that episode, man. Nothing happened in that episode. Jessica's delivery when she was talking to, I think it was the dean or the principal, those two were completely interchangeable in this episode, in this season. They were the same as they've always been. For some reason, they really got to me. You know what? I'm gonna have a prom, and I'm gonna end sentences with a face that ends like this. And I like her character, by the way. I just don't like the way that she delivers lines. I just really don't. And then they had a large chunk of the episode was them planning the prom, and then they had the prom, and then they just had a good time, and they just danced, and then something happened at the end, at the very last shot, and that's it. That was the episode. And I get it, it was supposed to be like a release, and I do understand that. They even said it in the show, that this was supposed to be an episode where they just have a good time, and they get to be kids being kids. And I think that's good after watching 4 seasons of kids being miserable. I think it's a very good idea to actually have kids having a good time. But it was so boring. It was just nothing. Yeah, I mean, watching the kids have a good time was good, but I didn't do anything. I was bored. I was bored throughout the whole episode. Alright, we'll have a dance. So yeah, overall, I thought season 4 was crap. It wasn't very good. The rest of the episodes, there was the camp episode, which was weird as shit. But actually, I thought it was quite interesting that they actually delved fully into the weird, the bizarre, which is something they've been dancing around the edges of throughout the 3 seasons, and they really invested in some weirdness with that episode. It was okay. Some interesting shots, I guess. Yeah, it was a bit strange though. It was a bit far-fetched. But yeah, I mean, it was not very good. I would say on level with, maybe better than season 2. A damn sight better than 3. 3 was unbelievably awful. Everyone got the happy ending. It was all just very fluffy, very soft. Everyone just got what they wanted, exactly what they wanted. And I guess that was a direct response to the end of 2 and the whole of 3. But it wasn't good. It wasn't very good. It's just 13 Reasons Why is a typical example of a show that had one good season and lots of other seasons, and that's it. I mean, that's 13 Reasons Why. And this is another one. It's the last one though, so speaking of bad things that are finally ending, I guess this is the end of the video too. I guess I'll see everyone later. How do I walk out with Teen Angst? Do I have to cry? Someone chop some fucking onions.